share with you guys is that we are recording this study because there's a lot of people also watching after it happens, right? As we all know, Zoom, when we start recording a meeting, a call, send a notice that we cannot accept or do not accept. If we accept and we are not comfortable with showing our faces, our image, our voice, please shut down your camera. Remove your name from the description that appears on the Zoom. If you don't want to make questions verbally, send through the chat. That's an additional burden because then we may miss one question or another. But the goal is to allow everyone, after this happens, to also have access to this content. I understand that we have no problems with that because we all accept to be here after the Zoom asks if you want to stay or not. But it's always good to remember so everyone understands how Zoom works and what we are doing here. Okay, so let's move on. Let me share. Well, I have already 3 people on the chat. Let me see what is that. Doing. Oh yeah, this is answered already. So I will not be looking to the chat, otherwise I'll get lost. So if you want to say anything, ask anything, please open your mic and then let's talk. Let me share with you. Well, Elsa, can you put me as a co-host? Because I cannot share anything at the moment.
Yes, I may vote. Wait a minute.
Yeah, let me share our book. I hope you all can see that. But I also would like to remember that this book you can download from several places. If you do not have that yet, please let us know and we'll send the link to you all. Okay, so let's start our day. Through the past week, one question was made in another program that I thought was very related to what we do here. And I asked Yasmin to remind me about this question, and she kindly did this morning. The question was, can mediums see the perispirit? I will tell you something. I love to make experiences around the spiritism. So I will ask you all to do an experience with me just now. If you can put your hands in front of your face. Good. Some people are shy, I can see that. But you are looking exactly to the hand of one spirit. Yeah, so that's it. You can lower your hand. So you just saw the hand of one spirit. What I mean, we all are spirits, right? So yes, we can see spirits in more than one way, Yasmin. We can see ourselves. We can see spirits incarnated. And your question was very precise regarding the perispirit. What is the perispirit? Perispirit is the spirit body. I can make a very complicated explanation, but it's a very simple like that. Is our spiritual body, right? When a medium see a spirit, it's fair to say that he's seeing a perispirit because he's seeing a spiritual body of a spirit. A medium, depending on his characteristics, can also see the spirit of the incarnated people under certain circumstances, right? We know that the physical body and the perispirit is kind of intermeshing, right, between other bodies, because you have more bodies, but it's not our topic here. And when the perispirit is detached from the physical body, it can be perceived by mediums, some mediums. Even when it's not detached, some mediums, they can perceive the perispirit, the aura, and a few other things, right? So just to give you a very simple answer, because sometimes people make that very complicated. Yes, some mediums under certain circumstances can see the perispirits of incarnated and discarnated, as is more common. Okay, I hope that has answered your question. Is that all right, Yasmin?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. Do you want to ask anything else?
No, just to say, actually, I had this drawing from maybe a conference in Belgium, and if I remember, maybe I don't know why I still have it after all that time. I was about to throw it away today, and yeah, well, it's in French. I'm sorry.
Not a problem. Well, you just mentioned something that is very interesting. You saw that in a lecture in Belgium and some time ago, and you still had that question with you. So that's why it's important when we do have an opportunity to raise our questions, to exercise that. I know from a fact that there isn't too many studies like this one online that we can exercise that. So it's a great opportunity to you all to exercise what you can. All right. So let's start.
Oh, sorry, I have a quick other thought to that, is that even if some people can't actually see them, that, you know, other people can sense them, you know, like through their body or maybe hearing, you know, through their thoughts. So it doesn't mean just because we can't see, you know, a lot of us can't see spirits, but many of us know they're there, you know. So there are many ways to kind of perceive or know, and you know that they're there. So seeing is not the only thing. I mean, we all know it, but just to add that, you know.
Very, very good comment. So thanks a lot. Yeah, you're totally right. So yeah, we are surrounded by them all the time, by the way. So let's just sharpen up our sensibility and we'll see and perceive things more often. So we're starting our topic of the day. Finally, explain that demons are merely the souls of evil individuals who have not yet purified themselves, but who, like all others, may finally reach
I'll leave it on the side. When I'm ready, I'll go there and see.
Just a minute. I will fix it. Okay, sounds good. So, where you are? Well, okay, so let me read again. Finally, explain that demons are merely the souls of evil individuals who have not yet purified themselves, but who, like all others, may finally reach the state of purity, and such will see more in harmony with the justice and benevolence of God than the doctrine of beings who were created for evil and who are irrevocably doomed to it. Well, we see many times people referring to spirits as demons, as even the devil itself. But this is a lack of understanding. They are spirits, period. Spirits. Spirits that can have and be in different stages of evolution with different moral concepts. So should I be afraid of them? We normally are, isn't it? But we are afraid of them because we do not understand that in details. When you start to understand that we are all the same, the essence is the same, that brings us a little bit more comfort to see then as we are. Yeah, go on, Christine.
I was just about to say that, so in essence, spirits are everywhere. They can be good or evil. It's a matter of influence.
It is. I will go even further, Christine. It's a matter of choice, because we all have the same rights to make choices. That's what we call free will, right?
Yeah.
I may decide to go on the left, you may decide to go on the right. This journey will end in the very same point. But the route on the left is not a straight one. May have several stops, may have like a zigzag street type of thing. And the one on the right may be more like a straight avenue going directly to the end. Saying that, if we know that we are all the same, and the only thing that makes differences are our choices, and our choices make who we are, we have the driven force to do everything we want. We have the power to be where we want to be. Sometimes we are a bit lazy and we decide not to go that far, at least not in a hurry. But we have that power. We can modify ourselves, and we can even modify those around us with our example. But yeah, we are all the same. I think that's what you can capture of this sentences. We are all the same. And a prime example is when we go to a mediumship meeting, some spirits, sometimes they even come saying, I am this, I'm that, I am the devil, I am, because they believe they are. Because the current conditions, the current spiritual conditions, and what they think make them believe they are. But they are spirits. And it is our duty to receive them with utmost care and love, and try to show them a different perception. And many of them, over a period, they change. And few of them come back to explain us how thankful they were to have that opportunity. So I have no doubt at all that we are all the same. All right, so let's move on. If anyone wants to say anything, if anyone to ask, just jump in the call. We are very happy to do it, okay? Once more, therein lies what the most demanding reason, the most rigorous logic and common sense can accept. You will notice that not only through this book, but through Kardec's work, the common sense is there. He sometimes don't even answer a question. He makes another question to make us think. Because it's very easy to go to a lecture and someone blah, 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 and we just accept as it is. But who can guarantee that information is right? Hi, Christine.
Sorry, I keep on, anybody else want to jump in, but I've got a lot that I've got on my mind.
I'm counting on you.
Common sense. What is it? Some people will say there's no such thing as common sense. And they talk about the 5 senses and the 6th sense being the spiritual, what I believe, the higher spiritual sense. So you sense other spirits besides those that are incarnated, disincarnated spirits. But what is, when we're talking about this common sense?
Okay. Let me share with you my vision of common sense. Because why I'm saying my vision of common sense? Because everyone thinks they are right. And everyone over the years, has created his own truth. And that's very normal. This is human, right? But common sense, in my perception, is something that I can relate it to with logic, something that I can relate it to with a consistent way of repeat itself, something that will not harm myself or anyone else. Everything that I said can be spread for so many different directions. But a very simple exercise of common sense we can all do at home. Most of us, we have hammers at home because from time to time we have to fix something at home, right? So now I'll ask you all to get your index finger, put on the table, lift your arm with your hammer 1 meter away and hit your finger. Did anyone do that here? I hope not. Why not? Because we exercise our common sense. If I do that, 1, I'll hurt my finger. 2, it's very painful. 3, why do I need that? Only because the lad is talking about hitting my finger? This lad is no sense. So this is a very simple example where we can exercise our common sense. And common sense can also be related to instinct to a certain extent, because we start to develop our common sense on very early ages from instinct. I guess many of us here, we have children and grandchildren. So let's say that a toddler, 2 years old, comes with his finger in the power socket. He won't like it. I can guarantee that he will scream and cry because it hurts. So do you think he's going to do that again? The majority of the toddlers won't. There are some that are very stubborn and try again just to see if it really works like that. But he will not continue like that forever. Hi, Faye, saw your hand.
Thanks. Sorry, it just occurred to me that what is called common sense here is also what we call a gut feeling, and the gut feeling has is something that everyone has, and some people are told to trust and others are told to ignore. But we all do, and we all do that because actually the gut feeling is a feeling that's sensed by the energy centers, by well, anyway, one of the chakras that along the just below our solar plexus, and that is our radar, and that's something that tells us, look, you can trust this way, or maybe you be careful about something. If whatever we sense that is right or wrong, like hammering our fingers, even if I didn't know what a hammer is, even if I'd never hurt my hand with a hammer, something would tell that does not look right. Right? It's not something I'm willing to try just because you told me to.
Very right? Good. Faith, I agree with you, but I think the gut feeling is more related to our instincts. Is already an evolution from our instincts, I would say. And the way I see common sense is the gut feeling with information acquired through our existence. That could be through a formal way of learning, studying, or practice. So a common sense would be all of them together in the basket, giving us the opportunity to reason about something, right? And gut feeling, I always follow my gut feeling, like, but I also exercise the other side as well, the knowledge acquired through experience and through studies, because that will give you a more thorough way to analyze a fact that comes to you. So why are we spending time talking about that? Because it's very, very important, especially for Kardec, and to understand his books. It's not something like he guessed. No, he had to go through a tremendous length to bring that knowledge to us. And common sense is something that we are not born with. It's something that we can build. And on the end of this exercise, this study, I hope we will contribute to a common sense in regards mediumship, in regards to the mediums, in regards of what we can do with our mediumship.
So you're saying it's not instinct, but it's informed.
Mm-hmm.
Informed, when you make an informed decision, that comes from common sense. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Okay. And everybody's so quiet today, but let's move on. Once more, therein lies what the most demanding reason, the most rigorous logic and common sense can accept. As we have seen, the soul that populate space are more precisely what we call spirits. Hence, spirits are merely human souls that have been freed of the corporeal envelope. So Kardec here is telling what we spoke this morning, early today, is right. We are spirits, and there is no difference between spirit A and B, right? If spirits were created as separate beings, their existence would be more hypothetical. However, in accepting the existence of souls, we must therefore accept the existence of spirits, who are nothing more than souls. A thought that came to my mind here now is that many people do not believe or accept the existence of spirits. No. When I die, that's it. All is over. So what is driving our existence? What is inside our physical body that allow us to be what we are? What is that? If you have a better explanation, I'm very keen to hear. But I think we are talking about spirits. On the other hand, I
was just going to say that sometimes people that don't believe might be to the point where their corporal existence is coming to an end, and they're having trouble accepting that's what I'm seeing at the moment. I have a brother-in-law who I don't think he will be here by Christmas, and I have limited experience, but I'm trying to talk to him in a way in which he can understand that he hasn't done anything wrong. He's not being punished by God, which is what his belief is. He thinks that he's going to die because he's done something wrong in this life, and I'm trying to make him understand that we're all born, we all pass at some point. I have to be careful of the words I use. I have to bring it down, because I found the same thing with my father, with my mother, and now with my brother-in-law, that towards the end, and they were all strong people. My brother-in-law is a strong person, that this existence he sees as the only existence, and that he's done something wrong and he's being punished by God and he's got to go. And he's really struggling with that. Is there anything you can put forward, or anybody can suggest, that would help with helping him to understand that, as you've said, that we're all spirits, and we're passing from one existence to the next. It's not the end. In fact, it could be just the beginning. Anything that anybody has a suggestion about around trying to make someone more comfortable about becoming a disincarnate in the not too distant future.
Mm-hmm. You, Liz, I think you want to join. Go on.
Thank you. I think I feel our friends' concern about talking to other people to enlighten people, but as we already know, people just want to accept things when they are ready. And sometimes some people are so resistant to anything that is positive. They can only look at the negative parts of life. But I've been reflecting a lot about the subject of death lately. And even though, like, we are here, we are talking about it, and when some of our family members or some people that are close to us pass away, they discarnate, we often sometimes question as well all of this. And then I think we all have to go through this. I personally, I don't think we can change people's minds on that at all, because it is an individual, how can I say, an individual experience, just like faith is an individual experience. Your relationship with whatever you describe as that intelligence that governs and surround us, that relationship, it's an individual one and is unique between each individual with the divine. But I think the main message is for us to be trying to get with terms with our own selves and trying to really accept things that happens in our lives, really, before we move on to explain or to find out about life after death and things like that. That was the one thing that I would like to contribute. But within our topic about souls and spirits, and yet, again, I think sometimes we talk about souls, we talk about spirit, like being something outside, being something that is part of us, not like being us. It's me. And when we start thinking about it, it is me. I am a spirit. Everyone around me is a spirit, whether they have a body or not. Our perspective about things in life suddenly change, because then we are like, you know, let's take things easy and let's see things with another angle, because I accept that I am this spirit. I am not the body. I am this spirit.
Liz, thanks for your participation. I would like just to mention something on top of what you said, is that we should not try to convince anyone about anything. Not even Jesus convinced everyone, right? Everybody has its own truth. He or she create a truth, and that's it. What we can do is to share what we believe, to share our truth. And eventually, sometimes they start to see things in a different way. I had lots of conversations with people that were totally non-believers, if you like. And because they were part of my work environment, I knew that science was very present in their lives. So if you don't believe you have a soul, as we said here today, what is the driving thing behind you moving from one room to another? It is a chemical reaction that convinces you to move from one room to another. If you're happy with that answer, so be it. But to someone that's very skeptical, he will start to think about it, right? And if you don't believe your soul will remain after you pass, after you die, it's a very shallow life, isn't it? You were born, you die, and that's it. So that is in contradiction with the acceptance of God. If God is good, is merciful, on the end of your life, that's it? No, there's something more. So there is this type of questions that is slowly you can start to think, you can start to say to people, and they will start reasoning, or at least question themselves about what they think and what they believe they think. Because sometimes our beliefs change during our lives because our exposure also changes through our life. What you knew, Christine, 10 years ago is not the same one you know today. And then we just need to embrace the opportunities. If the person on the end don't want to change, he won't. I have another hand here. Hello, go on.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
Just wanted to add, Guilherme, one thing you said, I think Liz mentioned it as well. You know, Jesus came, he came to teach us so many lessons, and we didn't listen. We needed many, many incarnations, however many we needed to be here discussing the Medium's book, for example, and be open to the concept of this is one of my many incarnations, that I am a spirit. We are all spirits and we're all developing and learning. And I think when we, as Liz mentioned, when we work on ourselves, when we study, when we pray, if that's what you believe, and when we come across and find all of these amazing, wealthy teachings that we have, eventually, this is going to show on how we live our lives, how we behave. And I think, as an example, if we look at children, you know, when you mentioned also, Guilherme, you know, we're parents and grandparents and stuff, and we have contact with children. Children don't often learn from being taught when they're very young. They often learn from what they observe and what they see. And my hope, and for the people that we come across, that we have an impact on their lives, is that perhaps our behavior and the way we interact with one another and what our beliefs are have some form of positive impact on them, to coming into similar understanding that there is an afterlife, that we are spirits, and there is something bigger than ourselves. That's just an inspiration, I guess, that came to me when you started talking.
Very nice. Very nice, Jack. Thank you. And when you were talking, something came to my mind, right? A lot of people, they really do not believe in spirits. They do not believe anything. But when their existence is about to expire, they start to ask questions to those who may believe. Why is that? You know, because deep inside, we all have the same perception of life, same perception of the existence. Through our choices, through our exposure during our life, we may decide to hide that part very deep in our hearts. But when we are facing something that we all will face eventually, that is this death, then sometimes that comes a bit more lively, and then we start to make questions about everything. And then if we know that someone is more into it, that spiritual side, sometimes we start to ask them questions. Oh, thank you, Munir. Help me here. How you doing? Munir, I cannot hear you. You're mute.
Okay, sorry about that. Hi, Guilherme. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Guilherme, understand that we all have our personal friend who is always with us and making sure always, no matter what, we end up going the right way. Is our conscience. Sometimes we get, there's a state of illusion. And most of the time we choose that. So we try to cover our conscience. And then we lead a life because we don't need certain things immediately. Then we lead a life as if, we can sort of live without trusting that there is a God, that spirits, they survive, we survive. We don't need to think about that on a daily basis until we get to special moments. And that is one of them, where we question ourselves. And then our conscience is there, showing us. So no matter how thick this cloth we put, to cover our conscience, sooner or later you come back and point to us that, what was right and what was wrong. And then we start to see if we can get different answers now. That's why I think some people, when they get, at this special moment of transition from the physical world to the spiritual world, all the values they brought with them in the physical life that were so important to them, and then actually made them blind to certain spiritual things. It's of no use. I mean, from that moment on, those values won't, be important anymore. So what is left? And then people start to question themselves. And that's why, all these become important. And our conscience is always trying to guide us, to show us the way. And no matter what, reality is one thing, our beliefs are something else, it's our perception, but sooner or later they start to change according to our experiences. And I think it's important that it is a personal experience. When the person has the opportunity to reevaluate what the person believes, what the person accepts, and what reality really is, And they deny the existence of God because it's convenient, was easier, and they didn't want to think about, they had this idea of an ancient idea of God, the old man sitting on a throne, and they don't want to know about a different perspective of God. They say, no, I don't need God in my life. So they carry on like that until the end, and then they realize what, is important and what is not, and the answers that they lack. And then they start to question themselves and other people. It is an important moment. This is a very important. It's when the conscience makes the person sort of awaken to the real reality and not the one that has been made artificially.
Very nice, very nice. And sometimes people that do not believe in anything, they start making question, sometimes even to have a giggle with us. And I used to say that I may be wrong, may end everything on the death. So let's do a deal here. I'm not sure if I'm right or if you're right. But if I am right, after you die, if something is left, Think about it. Think about where you can get help. Think about the things that you know that we do, things that we believe, and that may help you. Because I don't like to say who is right, who is wrong. So I prefer to throw in the air the benefit of the doubt. So if you don't believe in anything, you may be right. But if after you die, you realize that still something there, you're still thinking, feeling, hurting, and you're still there, you're still alive. So please consider there are other options. And then if there are other options, you may find help in this place with this activity, with this concept, and that is all we can do. Thanks.
Yes, I mean, the wise person makes a contingency plan. So you tell them, make a contingency in case there's something else, you know. What are you going to do? Where are you going to look for help? What should you do, you know? Yeah.
I like that very much, contingency plan. So let's try to finish that sentence here. And if we accept the fact that souls are everywhere, we must equally accept the fact that spirits are too. Look at the reasoning of Kardec. If we accept something, he brings to us that our acceptance also open a window to accept other things. If we accept that souls are everywhere, so are the spirits. Thus, we cannot deny the existence of spirits without denying the existence of souls. And now I'll go even further. If we deny the existence of souls or spirits, we also deny the existence of God. Because if we are a creation from Him, if spirits, souls do not exist, I'm also putting in question, a big question mark, if God exists. And when I say God, you may decide to refer to God with a different name, universe, you name it, but something that creates us, something in a big S, by the way. What time is it? Still have time to go. It is interesting our study today. I like it. Of course, all this is no more than a theory that is more rational than any other. Do you agree with that? Everything we're talking here is rational. It is for me. But we need to ask ourselves, does it make sense? The way I interpret that sentence makes sense for you? Because I always like to advocate that it's not because someone is saying something in a lecture, for example, that is right. Sometimes this person misinterpreted that sentence and explaining what he believes this sentence is saying. But that's not our goal here. Our goal is to give you all incentive to think by yourselves, to analyze by yourselves. And eventually, you will realize that something that I may be saying, Munir, Charles, may not be 100% correct. And we will all learn together. That is our goal here. We learn together, all right? More rational than no science. He says something here interesting. But it is a theory that contradicts neither reason nor science. I like pretty much to bring science into the spiritism. No, this does not exist. This is not possible. Have you proven scientifically that does not exist? Have you proven that souls do not exist? Have you proven, Mr. Science, that spirits do not exist? I don't think so. After all the development we had in science, I am not aware of a single scientist that were able to prove that does not exist. So as I said, I like the benefit of doubt. So as I cannot prove they exist scientifically, and you cannot prove they do not exist scientifically, we have a huge space for investigation, for exercises. Hi, Christine.
Hi. I like that sentence, and I'm not sure if you've read it yet, where it says, furthermore, it is corroborated by facts and is sanctioned by both logic and experience. That particular statement seems to encapsulate everything that you're saying to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, science works on facts, logic, and experience. So, yeah.
I will go even further, Christine. I really direct all my activities on the Spiritism, basing myself in that sentence. If something is not logic, I question. I question everyone about everything. If that logic does not make sense, it's my right to question. It's my right to ask. At least to ask. It's my right. And another thing that I always like is that experience part. Why I like that experience part? Because we understand that Spiritism is science. Science is based on experiences. An experience can be made in several ways. When you watch something for a period of time, your analysis of that event is already science. Today, we think that science is just because we use instruments, nice equipments. But we have to remember that science is observation. Observation of what? Of experiences, of practices, repetition, what we do. Go on. You want to say something, Christine? Or
Yes, yeah, I just wanted to further add. So where it says logic there in that statement, logic comes back to common sense. And as you just said, that logic, you know, is not necessarily universal. One person's logic is not the same as the next. So, yeah, I like how you extended what I said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Logic depends on your exposure, your understand, and your experiences in life, right? We all have different experiences. So my logic may not be the same as yours. But if we connect our logic to science, to observation, to practice, our logic will be sharpened over the years. And then our logic will be the best we could have to orientate ourselves into a direction, in my opinion, at least. But remember, what I know today, hopefully, will be superseded by what I will learn tomorrow. So hopefully tomorrow I will be a better person than I am today. So we are always progressing. I need to observe, to pay attention to the time. Let me just end that sentence, well, part of that sentence here that we started. Furthermore, it is corroborated by facts and sanctioned by both logic and experience. We have found these facts in the phenomena of spirited manifestations, which thus have provided us with patent proof of the existence and survival of the soul. I think that's so important. And through this study, you will hear me saying that I don't believe in something, because I don't believe. I know. How can you change your statement between I believe and I know? through the exercise, through the practice, with the assistance of science. So hopefully one day, many more people will say that I don't believe, I know. But to know a couple of things, you need the exposure. Otherwise, you just remain in the belief part. Yep.
I was just about to say experience and exposure. When you posed it as a question, I was going to say experience and exposure would be the obvious way in which, I actually make the statement of, well, I believe, in fact, I know, because I've had the experience in some things. So that's why I strongly believe or know. But when you say you know, some people see that as a statement of being better than they are. And you have to be very careful who you say that to.
Well, I understand what you're saying. And sometimes even saying things like that to people you believe will not understand, maybe in the future, they will remember that you said that one day, and that may help them to think in a different way. Yep. What time is it? 5 minutes. Okay, carry on. Nonetheless, there are many people whose belief does not go beyond this point. They believe in the existence of souls and consequently in the existence of spirits, but they deny the possibility of communicating with them because they say immaterial beings cannot interact with matter. This doubt results from ignorance of the true nature of spirits, about which they generally have a wrong idea by considering them to be abstract, vague, and undefined beings, which is not true. I will not jump into that subject in details because of our time already, but if you want to understand what we are when we are discarnated, look to yourself in a mirror. You have arms, legs, eyes, mouth. You have feelings. You feel pain. You feel pleasure. You feel love. You miss those you love. When we die, we are exactly the same what we are today. Exactly the same. The only difference is that we left behind our material body. Our being is more than one body. Our perispirit is more than one single body. And we don't need to understand that. We just need to understand that we remain who we are. We do not become saints because we die. We do not become evil because we died. We still have exactly the same thoughts as we have when we are here. We have exactly the same behavior than when we are here. So that's why it's important through our continuation, through our study, to understand all these little things: spiritual body, perispirit, soul, spirits, how they can interact. Oh, you said they do not exist. Well, if they do not exist, I know a lot of people that they need emergency medical attention because there is something wrong with them. So, but that's a topic for the future. All right. So, now that I stopped sharing, I can see more people here. I didn't
2 minutes
realize.
to go. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I didn't realize that we had so many people.